Hi, welcome to HSVC 340. As you know, my name is Ellen and I will be your instructor for this class. I hope that you will come to understand the nature of human services work and possibly find a place for yourself somewhere in this field. I'm actually very excited to teach this class as I studied under Dr. Woodside and Dr. McClam, who are your textbook authors at the University of Tennessee. One of my jobs during my time there was to be a graduate assistant for Dr. Woodside, and one of the tasks that I completed was writing the index for this very book. Well, it was an earlier version of the book. It's a lot of fun for me to have this sort of connection to the material we're using, and you might even see my name pop up in the textbook. Each week I'll provide a voiceover PowerPoint lecture for you. These will be fairly brief, will include my own interpretations of the textbook chapter, and will include any personal anecdotes from my own work as a human service professional that might help you to have some personal perspective. During Module 1, which we will be working out of for the first 2 weeks of class, the learning objectives are to expose and orient you all to the field of human services, to teach you the history of the human services movement, and to teach you about different employment opportunities and educational requirements in the field of human services. I hope to accomplish these objectives through your chapter readings, your discussion questions, and your quizzes at the end of the module. So how do human service professionals help their clients? This is a big question and one that we will begin to answer in Chapter 1. To begin answering this question, we can think about how the field of human services developed out of perceived needs. Sometimes people are not able to meet their own needs. We might choose to call those problems in living. When we think about the purpose of human services, we could say that one purpose is to help people focus on improving their present circumstances so that their future will be better. One thing to keep in mind, however, is that a client's present circumstances may be outside of their control. For this reason, it's important for us to pay attention to the client and to the situation the client is in. In our current society, it is apparent that the number of problems people might experience is growing. On an individual or micro level, these problems might include a lack of connection to family or other supportive people, a lack of stability in the job market, which could impact stability in other areas of life, such as housing and income, and the stress that accompanies these difficulties. On a global or macro level, problems such as overpopulation and social conflict, like war and terrorism, impact people's abilities to live successfully in their community. To address these difficulties, human service professionals will work to help individuals become more self-sufficient. As clients gain the skills and resources to become self-sufficient, they will likely experience an increase in self-esteem, they will become more independent, and they might feel empowered to accept responsibility for their choices. Woodside and McClam discussed 3 distinct functions of human services: social care, social control, and rehabilitation. Under the function of social care, human service professionals may function in a variety of roles and work with a variety of clients. The elderly, the mentally ill, the developmentally disabled, and people who have experienced trauma are often recipients of social care through human services. Sometimes individuals have difficulty following society's mandates for what is appropriate behavior. Our society has determined a set of guiding principles or laws that serve to provide social control, the second function of human services. Whenever individuals violate these laws, then human service workers, such as police officers, emergency management personnel, and correctional officers, may be tasked with restricting and monitoring a client's independence. The criminal justice system is a good example of the notion of social control. Finally, there are times that people cannot meet their own needs due to crisis, social circumstances, or even accidents. For these clients, human service professionals work to assist the client in returning to their previous levels of functioning through rehabilitation. Woodside and McClam continued their definition of human services by describing the ways that different academic disciplines contribute to our understanding of human nature. First, sociology helps us understand people in their environments. Psychology helps us understand human behavior and thought, and anthropology helps us understand the influences of culture in the lives of people. All of these disciplines provide unique perspectives to the way that we approach helping others. By understanding people through these disciplinary lenses, human service professionals can relate to their clients more effectively. Whenever human service professionals are able to relate to their clients in effective ways, then the process of providing services is simplified. This process is always oriented toward the client rather than the helper. In order to promote self-sufficiency for the client, the helper needs to be aware of many things. First, the helper's roles at different steps along the way will differ depending upon the needs of the client at any given point in time. These client needs can be quite complex, so the helper needs to think about the ways that the client's culture influences their needs. The helper also needs to think about the client from a holistic perspective. This means that we can't think about helping a client to overcome a particular issue in a particular area of his or her life unless we are aware of the client's entire person. Their mind, body, and spirit is a good way to think about this. We'll talk about the importance of relationships throughout this course, but this is probably one of the most critical pieces to successful service delivery. Finally, you, as the helper, need to remember to focus on what your clients already do well, their strengths, and then build new strategies for solving problems based on these strengths. As I just mentioned, the relationship between the client and the helper is one of the most critical pieces to ensuring successful service delivery. On this slide, I've highlighted the different points for you to consider when thinking about developing relationships with your future clients. Pay attention to the different roles that you will need to assume, like listener, educator, and helper, in order to establish a healthy relationship. You also should think about how you will ensure successful service delivery by enlisting the client's help throughout the process. One of the tips I often give my graduate students in our counseling program is that if you are doing more work than the client, then you are doing too much work. Granted, that is in the context of mental health counseling, but it's a good rule of thumb for all of us to consider. The relationship should be one of collaboration between the helper and the client. There are three overriding principles of management in human service delivery, according to Woodside and McClam. First, in addition to developing healthy relationships with your clients, the effective human service professional is connected to other professionals through networking. Each client that you encounter will have multiple needs. Sometimes these needs might require that you enlist help from other professionals who have special training in different disciplines. Developing these networks takes time and it takes personal investment. The best approach is one of collaboration and cooperation. After all, most of us are in this field because we care about helping others. Sometimes that means we need to ask for help too. Second, working closely with colleagues in your own agency, commonly referred to as teaming, will allow you to be more effective in service delivery. Maybe someone in your office has a particular skill set. In order to provide the best services to your client, this person might be better suited to deliver one aspect of the services required. Additionally, there may be times when agencies develop partnerships if they are working towards common goals. Finally, Woodside and McClam introduced the idea of case management as a management principle in human service delivery. As a specific type of human service professional, case managers are often the go-to person regarding their clients' cases. Case managers have unique knowledge about each of their clients due to their function. Often, they will work closely with clients to identify specific needs and then find ways through their referral networks, agency teams, or partnering agencies to meet those needs. In addition to the principles of management already described, Woodside and McClam also introduced the concept of evidence-based practice as a management principle. In my own experience working as a clinical case manager, I can attest to the importance of this concept. Agencies are often funded by large state grants or federal grants. Those funding agencies are investing money into the agency, and they care about how that money is being spent. In order to satisfy the funding agencies, researchers have explored what works in different settings and with different populations. As an example, your discussion board post this week includes a short video from the Department of Corrections in Washington State. I look forward to hearing your responses to this. To conclude Chapter 1, Woodside and McClam introduced the idea of the generalist. This is a term that is commonly used to describe professionals that have a broad knowledge base and have the ability to perform multiple functions in an agency. These generalists understand their clients as they are situated in their own context, and the generalist is able to be flexible and adaptable in their approach to client work, depending upon the client's unique set of circumstances. As you all think about your future career options, you might be interested in what is required of different professionals. In addition to your time in school, You will develop into a competent and caring human services professional through the relationships that you build with others, the ethical standards that guide your work, any continuing education that is required in your specific discipline, and any certification that might be necessary in order for you to practice. For a mental health counselor, which is my vocation, a master's degree in counseling is required. Following graduation, new counselors work under supervision for 3,000 hours before they can become licensed to practice independently. Different branches of the human service industry will have different requirements. Be sure that you're aware of the requirements for your chosen field. Thanks and have a good week.